I don't know what to do anymore. Honest to Zordon. It's like everything in my life is Hispanic name, food reference, cartoon characters being awkward, an intern whispering sweet nothings in your ear, beatnik philosophy that only makes sense if you're drunk or high, paranoia about recent historical events, and furthermore, I'm fat. So basically, you play as this guy named Al-Jahar Hiziki Guadalupe Kardashian, Penny Arcade Fandemonium III. You're actually pretty pissed off right now because the Democrats closed down the terrorist camp that you've been accustomed to calling your home. So, you've hijacked a drunken redneck trucker's vehicle in an attempt to drive to Washington and have a chit-chat with Mr. 2008 himself. 2008. Because that's the last time the president got fucked. When you joined ISIS, you were told they'd pay for your medical expenses. But because the Affordable Health Care Act gave you better insurance, you chopped off your arm and replaced it with the bionic arm extension. The good news is that you can reach far out of reach stuff. Like when your wife hides your AIDS medication from you when you say you just need one, but are really going to down the whole bottle because you fucking hate yourself. The bad news is that you tried touching yourself with your robot arm, and your semen exploded in your wife's face and she left you. Because it made her realize she was gay all along. Come to think of it, it was you who hadn't had sex since 2008. You may be wondering why the gameplay footage is upside down, but please keep in mind that it was actually you who was born upside down. Keep in mind that when you pop out of the womb, there are no instructions on which side is side up, and which side is meant to be removed, if at all. Now imagine that we were never meant to be taken out of the womb, ever. You would live your entire life inside of your mother's womb until it was no longer practical. Oh, the day would come. You could no longer fit inside of her. You'd be 35, never have shaven. You'd have no job and no job skills to get one. And depending on how nice your mother is, you may or may not have a home. On second thought, maybe it's better that we stay ignorant. And let sheeple be sheeple. The communications room in this game is a metaphor for how difficult it is for us to truly communicate with one another as people. Our true thoughts often vary too strongly from one person to the next, and we're all afraid of change and diversity. We don't trust one another. Therefore, we hide behind walls, or inside of machines, or inside of the walls inside of our homes until we die from ingesting paint chips. Because we cannot let the real us speak out to the real Admit it. Be who you are. You fuck trees. That's why they removed trees from this game while beta testing. Good news is they had authentic beta males beta tested, so they understood your indescribable forever loneliness. I just want to start off by saying if you want an answer at the end, prepare to be disappointed. There just isn't one. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2005 for my degree in animation. It wasn't paid, of course, most internships aren't, but it did have some perks beyond education. To adults, it might not seem like a big one, but most kids at the time would go crazy over it. Now, since I worked directly with the editors and animators, I got to view the new episodes days before they aired. I'll get right to it without giving too many unnecessary details. I'd very recently made the SpongeBob movie, and the entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity, so it took them longer to start the season. But the delay lasted longer for more upsetting reasons. There was a problem with the Series 4 premiere that set everyone and everything else backwards for several months. Me and two other interns were in the editing room, along with the lead animators and sound editors for the final cut. We received the copy that was supposed to be Fear of a Krabby Patty, and gathered around the screen to watch. Now, given that it isn't final yet, a Hispanic animators often put up a mock title card, sort of an inside joke for us with phony, oftentimes lewd titles such as How Sex Doesn't Work, instead of delicious pizza dough chunks, Rockabye by Valve, when SpongeBob and Patrick adopt a sea chump scallop. Nothing particularly funny, but work-related chuckles. So when we saw the title card, Squidward Suicide, we didn't think it was more than a morbid joke. One of the interns did a small, throaty laugh at it. The happy-go-lucky music plays, and it's normal. The story began with Squidward practicing his clarinet, hitting a few sour notes. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside, and Squidward stops yelling at him to shut the fuck up as he has a concert that night and needs to masturbate. SpongeBob says okay and goes to see Sandy with Patrick. The bubble splash screen comes up, and we see the ending of Squidward's cock. This is when things begin to cut off his dick. While playing, a few frames repeat themselves, but the sound doesn't. At this point, sound is synced up with animation, so yes, that's not common. But when he stops playing, the sound finishes as if the skip never happened. There's slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo. Not normal cartoon booing that's common to the show, but you can very clearly hear Madison. Squidward's in full frame and looks visibly afraid. His shot goes to the crowd with SpongeBob in center frame, and he too is moving very much like him. That's the oddest thing, though. What's odd is everyone in hyper-realistic eyes, very detailed, clearly not shots. Some people says it's a bit more real than CGI. The pupils were red. Some of us looked at each other, obviously confused. There was someone with a droopy dog face, but this is where the res. We didn't question its appeal to kids yet. The shot goes to Squidward sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view out of his porthole window is of a night sky, and it isn't very long after the concert. The unsettling part is at this point, there's no sound, literally no sound, except for static and pirates. Not even the feedback from the speakers in the room. It's as if speakers were turned off. Oh, their stash showed him working perfectly, just sat there blinking. The sounds were about 30 seconds there. He started to sob softly. He put his hands, testicles over his eyes and cried quietly for a few minutes more. All the while, the sound in the background very slowly growing for not barely audible. Not like his light breathes with ours. Screen slowly begins to zoom in on his face. By slowly, I mean it's only noticeable if you look at shots 10 parts apart side. His sobbing grows louder and more full of hurt and anger and hunger. He's hungry. He needs tacos. The screen then twitches a bit. As it twitches for a split second, the back to normal eyes slivered like almonds. It went through the tree. Sound goes slowly more severe as if a storm is brewing somewhere. The government caused 9/11. The eerie part is the sound. And Squidward's sobbing sounded real, as if the sound wasn't coming from the speakers, but as if the speakers were horses. The sound was coming through the other side. It's good sound the studios likes to have. They didn't purchase equipment to be that good to produce sound that quality. Below the sound of the wind and sobbing, very faint, something sounded like laughing. It came at odd intervals and realized some more sight. He heard a hard time pinning it. It shows twice. A part of me thinks sounded specific by bad time to think about them. After 30 seconds of this, screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed on the screen as if it was saying, Buck Strickland, forgive me for using propane for this. The lead animation editor pods rewound frame by frame. What we saw was horrible. It's a still photo of a dead kid. He could have been more than 6 years old. His face was round and bloody, one-eyed, overturned base popped. He was naked down his underwear, stomach crudely cut open, his intros laying behind me. He was laying on some pavement and was probably road. The most upsetting part is that there was a shot of the photographer, there was no crime tape, no evidence times and markers, and the angle was completely for a shot designed to be evidence. It would seem the photographer was the person responsible for the child's death. We were, of course, mortified, pressed on, hoping that it was just a sick joke. He from the back to school was still sobbing, larger than before, half body in frame. There was now what appeared to be blood running down from his face, from his eyes. Blood was also done hyper-realistic style. Look as if you touched you got blood on your fingers. Oh no. The wind sounded now as if there was a gale blowing through the forest or even sapping down some branches, laughing deep baritone last. The longer intervals come quickly about 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Screen twist again, showed the film fake photo. There was left to come back. We all were, but we knew what we had to do. The tiny photo was after being a little girl, no lower to the first jaw. She was lying on her stomach. Her broad said pool of blood next to her. She was Hispanic. Her left eye was too popped out of pop neck except underpants. Hers were popped top above her crude neck, tongue cut along her back. The other body was on the street. The other vagina was nibble, very similar size and shape to the first side. A choked back vomit. One intern, the only female in the room ran out. The show was in there 5 seconds. The second photo played. Blue went silent. It all sounds like it was a scene start. He put his tentacles down. His eyes were done out. Hyperrealism. Like the others were at the beginning of the episode. Their bleeding, bloodshot, and pulsating just stared at the screen as if watching the viewer. After about 20 seconds, he started sobbing, this time not covering his eyes. Sound was piercing loud. Most fear of him was sobbing mixed with screams. Here's the blood were dripping down his face. A heavy ray. The wind sound came back. It's a deep voice laughing. This time the photo lasted for a good 5.76 seconds. The animator was able to stop in the fourth and backed up. The sound of photo was a boy about the same age. This time the scene was different. The intros were just being pulled from his stomach wound by a large hand. The right eye popping, thinking blood trying from him. The animator proceeded. It was hard to believe, but the next one was different. Couldn't tell. He went on the road. Same thing. He went back to the first to play them clicker. I lost. I vomited for the anime Saturdays after the screen. My friends were not as if they had 5 different photos that were played out and they would ask me to frame their video. We saw the hand slowly lift up the guts. We saw the kid's eyes photo. We saw 2 frames of the kid beginning to blink. The lead sound editor told us to stop. He had to call in the crew. See this? Mr. Hillenberg was stuffing robots up his ass for about 15 minutes. He was confused as to why he was called down there, so the editor just cleared the episode. Once the fill frames were all screaming loud sound stopped again. Squidward was there staring at the viewer. Fill frames for about 3 seconds. He was a horse. The shot quickly panned down. Deep voice said, "Do it." And we saw in the middle of Squidward's hands as a ball sack. He merely puts the gun in his mouth, pulls the trigger out, and makes sense now. The realistic blood and brain matter splatters the screen behind him in the bed. He flies back and forth. Last 5 seconds of the episode, Shaw is bloody on the bed, on his side, one eye dangling, head above the floor, staring blankly out of the episode ends. Mr. Hillenberg is obviously angry about this. He has a secret decoder ring, but still demands to know what the heck was going on. If it was people in the room at this point, it was just a handful of back again. Viewing the episode twice only served to impact the entirety of it in my mind and caused me horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. My nightmares were not ancient hieroglyphic language of my native people. The only theory we can think of is the file was edited by someone with a shame for the drawing video to hear. The CTO was called to analyze what happened. The NSF file showed it was edited over by new material. However, the timestamp was a mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. All equipment involved was examined for foreigners. Software, hardware, as well as glitches. The timestamp may have been glitched to show the wrong time. Everything checked out fine. We don't know what happened this day. Nobody does. Investigation due to the nature of the photos, but nothing came of it. No child suit was identified. No clues were gathered for data involved in physical clues in the photo. I never believed that unexplainable phenomenon before. Now I have something happen and can't prove about it beyond anecdotal evidence. They took my eyes. I think twice about things. Never asked me to read Squidward's suicide ever again.